Every night, millions of people wake up needing to pee. Most blame their bladder, some blame their prostate, others stop drinking water before bed. But what if every one of those explanations is missing the real cause? Because the reason you keep waking up at 2 in the morning may not be in your bladder at all. It may be hiding somewhere you'd never think to look: your legs. If you've been told that nighttime urination is simply part of getting older, or that you drink too much water before bed, today's video might completely change the way you think about it. Let's begin with a simple experiment, because your bathroom can reveal the first clue. The bathroom experiment. Tonight, if you wake up to urinate, don't flush immediately. Instead, collect the urine in a large measuring cup and see how much comes out. It sounds strange, but it reveals something important. If your bladder were truly the problem, you'd expect only a few drops. An overactive bladder should wake you long before it's full. But that's usually not what happens. Many people produce an entire cup of urine. Some even produce 2. That's a completely full bladder. And that changes the entire story. A full bladder doesn't suggest the bladder is malfunctioning. It suggests it's working exactly as it should. It waited until it reached its normal capacity, then signaled your brain that it was time to wake up. So maybe your bladder isn't the problem. Maybe it's simply delivering a message. The real mystery isn't why your bladder woke you up. It's why it became completely full while you were asleep. Where did the urine come from? Most people assume the urine they pass at 2 in the morning came from the glass of water they drank before bed. It sounds logical. Drink water, make urine, wake up. That's usually not what happens. The fluid you're releasing may have entered your body many hours earlier, sometimes in the afternoon, which raises a much bigger question. If it didn't become urine right away, where did it spend all those hours? The answer isn't your bladder. It isn't your kidneys, it's your legs. The hidden reservoir. Throughout the day, gravity is constantly pulling fluid downward. Whether you're standing, walking, or sitting, some fluid naturally settles below your knees. In fact, even healthy people normally carry several pounds of fluid in their lower legs. Most never notice because it's happening all the time. Your body is constantly moving fluid in and out of your tissues. But when that balance shifts, your legs quietly become a storage tank. Not for fat, not for muscle, for fluid. So how can you tell if that's happening to you? There's a simple test. The 5-second test. Press your thumb firmly into the front of your shin for about 5 seconds. Then let go. If the skin springs back immediately, that's generally normal. But if a dent remains for a few moments, it may indicate fluid retention, also known as edema. That means extra fluid has collected inside the tissues of your lower legs. What's surprising is that even healthy people naturally carry a significant amount of fluid below the knees. The problem begins when that amount becomes excessive. Because once enough fluid is trapped there, something remarkable happens every single night. But before we get there, we need to answer another question. Why does the fluid leave your bloodstream in the first place?
The real culprit. Most people think insulin only controls blood sugar. Some know it's involved in storing fat. But insulin also has another powerful job. It tells your kidneys to retain sodium, and wherever sodium goes, water follows. So when blood sugar stays high, insulin rises. Higher insulin tells your kidneys to hold on to more sodium. More sodium means your body also holds on to more water. Instead of leaving through your urine, more fluid remains inside your body and becomes available to collect in places like your lower legs. While doctors commonly measure fasting blood glucose, fasting insulin isn't routinely checked, even though elevated insulin may appear long before blood sugar becomes severely abnormal. But another mystery remains. Holding on to water is one thing. Why does that water end up inside your tissues instead of staying inside your blood vessels? The answer lies in a microscopic structure most people have never heard of. The invisible barrier. Inside every tiny blood vessel is an incredibly thin protective layer called the endothelial glycocalyx. Think of it as a seal that keeps fluid and proteins where they belong. Several hours of high blood sugar can damage this protective layer. As it weakens, tiny gaps begin to form. Proteins leak out into the surrounding tissue, and wherever proteins go, water follows. Now fluid is no longer staying neatly inside your circulation. It's collecting inside the tissues of your lower legs. Gravity keeps it there throughout the day. The water hasn't disappeared. It's simply waiting. There's an interesting clue that supports this idea. When many people begin a low-carbohydrate or ketogenic diet, one of the first things they notice isn't rapid fat loss, it's rapid water loss. Lowering carbohydrates reduces insulin, allowing the kidneys to release sodium. As sodium leaves the body, water leaves with it. That's why people often lose several pounds during the first few days. Much of that early weight isn't body fat, it's fluid that had been retained. Now think about the typical evening. Dinner, dessert, a few snacks while watching television. Late-night carbohydrate-heavy eating keeps blood sugar and insulin elevated at exactly the wrong time, encouraging your body to continue holding on to sodium and water before bed. The chain reaction has already begun. But the most surprising part doesn't happen until you fall asleep, because the moment you lie down, gravity changes everything. The biggest reveal. Throughout the day, gravity has been pulling fluid into your lower legs, but the moment you lie down, gravity no longer keeps it there. That trapped fluid slowly returns to your bloodstream. It travels back to your heart, passes through your kidneys, and is filtered into urine. Minute by minute, your bladder fills. Not because you suddenly drank too much water, not because your bladder became overactive, but because your body is finally processing the fluid that had been sitting in your legs all day. By the time enough urine has formed, your bladder reaches its normal capacity and wakes you up. Suddenly, the measuring cup experiment makes perfect sense. A full cup of urine doesn't necessarily point to a faulty bladder. It suggests your kidneys had plenty of returning fluid to process while you are asleep. But fluid retention isn't the only possible cause. There are two other causes that can produce the same symptom. Two other hidden causes. The first is sleep apnea. When breathing repeatedly stops or becomes restricted during sleep, it places extra stress on the heart. This triggers signals that encourage the kidneys to produce more urine during the night. That means someone with sleep apnea may wake up several times to urinate even if their bladder is perfectly healthy. The second possibility is medication. Certain drugs, particularly some used to treat high blood pressure and diabetes, can increase urine production as a side effect. If that's happening, the bladder is once again responding normally.
Why drinking less water usually doesn't work. Most people receive the same advice. Stop drinking water after dinner. Drink less before bed. Cut back on salt. It sounds logical, but these strategies often miss the real issue. If the urine filling your bladder at 2 in the morning came from fluid that had been stored in your legs since the afternoon, drinking one less glass of water before bed won't remove that stored fluid. It's already inside your body. It's simply moving from one place to another. That's why many people continue waking up at night even after limiting their evening water intake. They're trying to reduce new fluid, while the real problem may be fluid their body never got rid of in the first place. So how do you interrupt that chain reaction? The first recommendation is to avoid late-night snacking, especially carbohydrate-heavy foods. Eating close to bedtime keeps blood sugar and insulin elevated, encouraging the kidneys to continue holding onto sodium and water when those levels should be falling. The message is simple. Once dinner is over, the kitchen is closed. No unnecessary snacks before bed. The second recommendation is surprisingly simple. Take a walk after dinner. Even about 10 minutes may help. Walking activates the muscles in your legs, which act like pumps to move fluid back toward your circulation before you go to sleep. At the same time, your muscles use some of the glucose from your meal, helping reduce the rise in blood sugar. The third suggestion is to elevate your legs in the evening. While watching television or relaxing, raise your legs above heart level. This allows some of the trapped fluid to return to your circulation before bedtime, giving your kidneys time to filter it while you're still awake, instead of after you've fallen asleep. Combining these habits with improving blood sugar control through dietary changes may reduce the amount of fluid your body retains over time. When you connect all the pieces, the mystery begins to make sense. Your bladder may not be waking you up because it's failing.
It may simply be responding to a completely normal signal. Earlier in the day, gravity allowed fluid to collect in your lower legs. High blood sugar and insulin may have encouraged your body to retain even more sodium and water. As you slept, gravity stopped pulling that fluid downward. It returned to your bloodstream. Your kidneys filtered it. Your bladder filled, and only then did it wake you up. Whether this explanation applies to your own situation is something to discuss with a qualified healthcare professional. But understanding this chain of events may help you look beyond the symptom and consider what might actually be causing it.